I can see John as well entering. So I will be sharing the presentation. If you want to have a PDF of this presentation, you can reach out to me as well on LinkedIn. I think I know most of people here somehow. At the same time, I can tell you a funny thing. Whenever my husband hears me, my husband is in tech. He's not coach. He's I guess very senior leader in a high-tech company. Whenever he hears me talking about team coaching, he looks at me and says, like, team coaching, you know, the teams are obsolete. I was like, how can you say that? And he said, like, you know, a few years and there will be a human being with the team of agents, AI agents. And I thought, like, you know, but I will find a way to coach them as a team, you know, because everybody needs some kind of support. But if you want to know what to do with team coaching nowadays, or generally in development, I think that we do talk sometimes more to people who are not really coaches or mentors and consultants, but are in a little bit different areas because they can shed the light of what's going on. However, what we're going to do today, it taps into my experience as a both team coach supervisor, regular coach, both with ICF and EMCC. So, and I like to look at myself mostly as a practitioner. So I actually go do and coach. And last year, I don't know about you, but last year, a lot of my supervisees, coaches, but as well myself, we start noticing that it is a little bit harder to talk about or engage companies in coaching processes because one, some of them prefer to work with platforms, and the others, they are really, really, really thrifty about spending money. So I looked at the year, especially like the end of 2024 and the whole 2025, as the way to think about what really I can offer as a team coach to the organizations, how it aligns with AI bubble burst, which is happening now as well in the development. And actually, it made me really optimistic. So what I want to talk to you about today is about this optimism and how we can actually make a case for team coaching in times when AI is so present. That it's still, there is a lot of hope in what's going on. I'm very hopeful. A little bit more hopeful that about individual coaching for example, individual contributors, yeah, because a lot of organizations now very openly say that they prefer to offer individual contributors AI coaching, which is, by the way, not exactly the same. But okay, let me share my presentation quickly with you. I will be using it as a visual prompt as well. But okay, so how I can see you? Can you see my presentation? Yeah, okay, cool. So the case for team coaching in a complex AI-enabled world. So I really want to make a case why team coaching matters. I would say that even it matters, it starts mattering more than regular coaching. In my practice, that's what I noticed. Yeah, it's getting more and more present. And I like to actually think about team coaching from a perspective that this is not a threat, but more a signal. Okay, so AI is changing how organizations access information, analyze data, you know, make recommendations. That all about data, about the content is probably AI is better at it than a human. However, there is a key distinction I developed last year. So AI can help us reduce technical uncertainty, like connected with data, information, technology. However, humans are still here to reduce human uncertainty. Why? Because we as human beings can do what AI cannot. We can read between the lines. We can identify humor or read humor. We can read innuendos. We can see the power dynamics, which is hidden sometimes in the small signals. And AI is not yet able to do it. I said yet because who knows? Maybe one day it will be, but not yet. It's in terms of reading this, the small things is not really good. However, it might be helpful for us. as well as the team coaches, okay? I still believe that team coaching is really done in relationship more than other modalities we can offer to our clients, yeah? And look at it as a signal that our work changes, not so much the threat for us. Okay, so let me ask you a question. What kind of uncertainty are your clients sitting with right now? So if I shared that AI probably can help with technical uncertainty or data-related uncertainty because it can operate and organize big data, human touch can help dealing with human uncertainties. So, but what uncertainties your clients experience right now? And I honestly recommend you to turn off turn on your mic and maybe share like political. Okay, Maya, definitely geopolitical uncertainties. What other uncertainties they sitting with?
Economic.
Yeah.
Economic.
What else?
Job security.
Exactly. Job security. So as you can see, there's all three things you mentioned are actually on the, I would say, boundary between, there is the boundary between data-related kind of uncertainty and human-related uncertainty. Yeah, because I can, for example, use AI to analyze some kind of reports about what's going on in the job market and predictions and so on, so on. However, there is a human being with the emotions in the end, yeah? And the team, the fear of losing job can, for example, create unnecessary competition between people. So I would encourage you to look at it that still as a team coaches, we have something to offer that AI cannot help with. AI can help with offering some maybe tools, yeah, like, oh, this is a feedback model you can use. However, if you really want to talk to a team about what's going on inside, that you experience the tension, that it is a fear-driven tension, and how to deal with the fear in a human-centric way, that's team coaches can help. Yeah, because AI can interpret the data. It is not so good in interpreting what is hidden, like what emotions are hidden there. So why organizations are still investing in team coaching? Yeah, and I thought about it. I looked at something what I sold last year to the organizations, and maybe I will share that. Last year, I actually discovered that doing a lot of projects for, team coaching for project teams, which are very interesting projects for me as well. However, with their own challenges, I will be talking more about that. I looked at the reasons why finally organization decided to invest in a team coach. Yeah, so the person who can really look in everything what is below the surface. Yeah, if you like the iceberg model, yeah, so it's not at the tip of the iceberg, but what is hidden under the water. Yeah, so why they actually invest in team coaching with me? So first of all, the first thing was, of course, trust problems among the team. And trust is such a buzzword. Yeah, I sometimes is abused, I would even say, but engagements, you know, when you see in a trust problems, there were trust to my leadership, trust to my colleagues, trust to the organization, trust even to the political establishment in my country. So there are so many different layers of trust. And without trust as a foundation, it's hard to build effective collaboration. So team coaching was the space for people to actually define where trust is. I don't know if I can use the word leaking or fractured. Yeah, that there is something going on there, and they can openly talk about it. Yeah, so trust. Second, it might be strange why organizations are still investing, because I told you that AI is much better with big data and complexities and so on. However, the next one, for me, what I heard from leaders and HR or any kind of stakeholders who actually invested in team coaching, it was the idea of that okay, there's still a lot of complexity going on. Yeah, we've got this mixed approach to work, like hybrids. Some people are fully remote. That's one thing, how we work. Then organizations are created into more matrix ownership levels. So accountability, ownership as well. There's a lot of like moving parts. It's not even that I can imagine that I'm in a project and I have line manager different than project manager, but there is a lot of different matrix dependencies, okay? And the complexity of priorities. That was another thing, yeah? How to find yourself in all of this complexity of priorities and emotions, which were connected with all of that, yeah? All this complexity brought more fear, anxiety, tension. And again, when people experience all of these difficult emotions, I heard that a few people said that they are psychotherapists here as well, psychologists. When people experience these difficult emotions, what happened with them? How does it impact their behavior? They usually go back to the old automatic scripts, some not very healthy ways of being and doing stuff. So I once heard that their behavior deteriorates. So all of this complexity, my clients mentioned, yeah, you need to help us deal with complexity. What they really were telling me, we need to be able to deal with the emotions, our reactions, our human reaction to this complexity, which is really overwhelming. Okay. So that's like, I know that AI might help me analyze some of the data, what's going on in the organization in terms of changes, for example. At the same time, how I deal with it as a human, it is probably very hard to get the help of AI from that context. Okay. The next one, and I know that this showed up here as well, is retention and risk, which is funny because the fourth one will be layoffs. But let's go back to the retention and risk. We still, in a very particular areas, we still very worried about losing very good team members. Okay, so team coaching is very often perceived more as making sure that people are comfortable and happy and they don't leave us because we create the environment that is good to them. Okay, so we don't want to risk it because we want to keep this really, really, really great employees who are with us. Okay, and the last one is as well emotional burden, emotional cost of layoffs and constant change. So teams are no longer the stable units. People join, leave, absorb work from roles that no longer exist. And again, there is emotional reaction to that. Okay, so I looked at this for a reason. That's why organizations invested in coaching last year. I looked at the data from 2025, and if you ask me, yes, I used AI to analyze this data. These were the 4 top topics for me. I'm curious about you. I'm seeing some things in the chat. Okay, thank you for sharing. Resources, yeah, I can say that we can rely on Michael with the great resources. But what about you? Most of you said that you are team coaches. Like, do you see any parallel in terms of why organizations invested in team coaching last year with you? Or maybe there was some other reasons that this 4 dominant I've seen, yeah? Emotional reaction to the trust problem, complexity, on the many different levels, retention and risks connected with losing great talent, and on the other hand, layoffs and constant change because of the AI, the workforce is getting smaller. The human workforce is getting smaller. Susie.
Yeah, wait, maybe one more could be working on silos because of everything you mentioned. Now people have a lot of data, they can work alone, they're working sometimes in a hybrid way. And I've been asked to work, maybe what they need is to talk to each other, to bring spaces where they can reflect together everything, all these problems. So yeah, the working in silos and lack of collaboration at a certain level.
So I think about the future here as well. What my husband told me, yeah, that one day there will be no teams, there will be just a human person with the set of agents. There will be a huge silos. I think it can create a great opportunity for us how to help these individuals who work with agents actually collaborate better. And in a way, it will be some kind of team coaching, looking from the teams of team perspective. Yeah. If you think that this individual human being with the set of agents is a small, strange new team, we need to be able to define or help them work together like humans together on the organizational level. Okay, Larissa.
You may have kind of implicitly got to it through the complexity, but I think there's a lot more around wellness, overwhelm, confusion. So I think that is something that I'm noticing a bit more of.
Yeah, I do definitely agree with that as well. It is maybe, I'll be very honest, it may be not a priority in terms of, I have never heard organizations saying that this is a main goal, that we invest in a team coaching because this is the main goal. However, this is usually very thought after, side effect of team coaching.
I think it depends on the sector that you're working in. Because I'm working a lot with more education where like higher education is just decimated. And so they're looking for something that they can support people with. So I think it does depend, and a lot of work with nonprofits as well. So, but yeah, in the more corporate world, probably not their first priority for sure.
No. It is declared as a nice thing. However, when there is a heavy investment in team coaching, it is not usually at the top of the list. Yeah, I would say. However, it actually, Larissa, your comment made me think that would be interesting to create a map of like what industries or what sectors look for when they want to invest in a team coaching. What are the reasons they actually say yes to this costly engagement still in terms of time? Yes, and in terms of finances as well. Okay, thank you, Larissa. Jonathan.
Yes, hi. I think it overlaps with what you put up, but for companies that have the budget, and I think it depends on budget and champions, but they're an organization that was standing up a new level of teams and recognized that they wanted these teams to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And so, again, I think it touches with we don't want them to burn out. It's complex. If they burn out, there will be retention issues. And in this case, somebody was willing to spend the money on it. I think there is pressure on budgets these days.
Yeah.
But there's the opportunity side as well as the pain side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think this budget conversation, definitely I'm going to talk about money and how I as well partner around money with organizations. This is a big thing, yeah, because we want to show that team coaching processes are valuable to the organization, yeah, because why invest? And I say money is just the part of the picture because team coaching actually is time investment.
Yeah.
And that's a resource which is very finite when you think about it.
And also depends on both the offering and the perception of the offering in terms of this take us away from our work, or is it part of our work?
Exactly. Is it something which is annoyance, disturbance for me, or is it the part of my of work I'm doing right now? Yeah. Thank you, Jonathan. David.
Yeah. Hi. I invited my colleague John Walters to come along to this meeting as well. We work at the Idaho National Laboratory. One of the things that in our environment comes to mind is that we're surrounded by engineers and scientists, and they're making a small modular nuclear reactor. So of course we want them to do it right. So it doesn't leak or create any additional challenges. We want it to be safe. That's the whole purpose of doing it at the lab. So that's a certain mindset that we're working with. It's what I would call almost a mechanical mindset. And I do think that there's a huge blind spot for a collective of people who have a mechanical mindset, because to them, individuals are like parts, and parts can be replaced. If a part is broken, you throw it away and you buy a new part. And so a team is just a group of parts that should operate together to be like a motor that makes a car move. And when one of the parts is broken, you throw it away and you put in a different part. And so, it's very different from a living systems mental model of what a team is. And so I think that strongly influences their willingness to engage in team coaching. Because why would team coaching even be relevant if you just throw the part away and replace it with a new part, right? And so that's an additional barrier that John and I are working with inside the culture of the lab.
Yeah. It is such a it sounds very familiar, this how you lovely call it mechanistic mindset. Yeah, like what is the team? Is it the collection of parts that we can exchange, or is something bigger, and how we talk about it? I think
Exactly.
it's going to be very interesting conversation when we actually get to this level, that there will be a human being with AI agents. Yeah, like, so what is the team then? How are we going to define it? I think that we are working in a very interesting space right now. However, it ends up with how we communicate the value. Yeah, like still, I wonder as a team coaches how we can help without judgment reformulate clients to go from this mechanistic mindset to mindset of, okay, this is the living system here. Yeah, and as well, it is nested in an even bigger system somehow there. Thank you. It actually inspired me. I haven't heard the phrase mechanistic mindset. I wrote it down. I love this phrase. Yeah, I'm going to steal it from you, David. Yeah,
please.
That's what I will do.
If it's useful.
Thank you. Damian?
Yeah. David, I think that mechanistic mindset is not only in your organization. I see that in all kinds of organizations where people see each other, like I would say, if I use a word a little bit hard, is objects, like to meet a goal. So that human perspective sometimes is missed. And related to that, to what Jonathan was saying before about leadership, and who really advocate for team coaching will make a big difference. So when we are going to organizations and companies and we bring this idea of team coaching, many times the people who make decisions, they may not have the strategic perspective or even the collaborative value, like collaboration is not in their head. So sometimes this is one of the challenges when we're going to organizations and we are trying to bring team coaching and explain how they can benefit from team coaching. And most of the time, the companies that need it the most is because leaders are not collaborative, are not bringing people together, are people working in silos. And sometimes it's a blind spot for them. And the ones that they need the most sometimes are the ones who don't see the value. So this is one of our challenges.
But I'm going to say something maybe inappropriate in this setting. I think that this is a little bit our fault. Because we talk about team coaching in such an esoteric way that this human being who is not a psychologist, who is not a coach, on the other side, who is a, let's say, engineer leader, or maybe like in academia, in education and so on, they don't really understand what we're going to do there. And now I'm going to get to the part which is a little bit tricky, because I'm both accredited with ICF and EMCC. However, I would say that the year 2025 redefined my way of looking in some of the ways what organizations need when they say team coaching. And I say it with a caution, more thinking about like what I'm really offering organizations. Because if I looked at this beautiful table, everybody who is ICF accredited or wants to get to the ICF accreditation, what are the different modalities, what it means, like how long should it be, and so on, we might become too rigid and a little bit too difficult for the organization to understand what we're really offering. So as well, I'm going to share, and this is my perspective, what I've been doing for the last several months. So for me, it started in 2024 when I got from thinking, okay, that's how it should be done, into that's how I co-created with organizations. There is no one best solution there. However, what is a foundation of my work are team coaching competencies. So I less look at the rigid kind of description that it needs to look like that's the team coaching process and so on. But I spend more time on being interested, what are my competencies as a team coach? And all the ICF and EMCC approach to it is really, really useful because it opens up my tool set, I would say. So I'm less fixated on, okay, this is a package, this is how I sell it, that's, the length and the session lasts this way. I think how I can co-create something with a client, which might be partially team coaching or whatever they need at this time. However, I can exhibit team coaching competencies. Okay, so that's why, like, I do this comment here because I know that sometimes when we read books and articles about the team coaching, there is a clear fixation about that, like, oh, this is team coaching and that's not team coaching. Yeah, I would say that if you show up competencies, you can definitely do the partial team coaching thing, and maybe the team you're going to support, the organization you're going to support is like, they don't need it like 100% done in this way, that you like organize regular sessions monthly or bi-weekly and so on. I would actually say, and maybe let's get to back to my presentation, that what organizations think when they talk team coaching and what I think, or used to think what team coaching is, there was some discrepancies there. So very often I used to think about structure, like, how the process will look like, or the package or something I'm selling to the organization. However, when organizations I work with say we need team coaching, what they really say, we need alignment, we need better communication, or very often we need a team offsite, and you can help us organize that. So they say, oh, this team doesn't know how to think together. We need a space to help this team think better together. Or we need to get this team to develop the roadmap, especially everything is so competitive, yeah? Or they say, oh, we are stuck and we don't know what's going on. Help us with this moment when we are stuck. So they even if they say we need team coaching, I don't really know if it's something they need. Okay, so I actually stopped thinking about the packages. I started thinking about like process. I can co-design with this company. And before I even get into it, the first thing when the company knocks at my door right now and say, okay, there's this team, or there are these teams, we want team coaching. I actually say, okay, let's maybe talk what you need so we can figure out and partner together in designing something what you need. At the same time, whatever we decided on, there are actually 3 responsibilities we need to talk about to make whatever we decide to do together successful. And you might be laughing, but that's the first thing I talk to organization before I even say like what we're going to do together, because I want to show them that that team coaching or whatever they're asking for is not a magic bullet. or a magic wand, yeah? And I tell them, of course, there is my responsibility, because they use very often the phrase team coaching. I call myself team coach in this engagement, yeah? Even if I don't know what's going to happen there. But there is a responsibility on me. So I bring my experience, fluency in different modalities, and as well set of competencies. So all the skills I have, like active listening, facilitating client growth, and so on, I bring it to the table. That's my part, but that's 1/3 of the picture. If you really want to engage with me into this endeavor, there is as well responsibility on you as a team. You need to do your work. So you need to help me co-create the process. You need to help me define, map stakeholders together even. You need to enable me to help you and enable stakeholders to help you too. And you need to put the work. So whatever we agreed on at the end of discovery phase, there need to be loud yes from your part to this. Yes, yes, we are interested. Yes, we want to experiment. Yes, we want to try. And I say, okay, but you can see this is 1/3, 1/3. And there is a third element here as well. This is the system. And of course, I use the system word here because we all understand it. What I use when I talk to clients, I usually say, okay, but there is a rest of organization, or there is an industry you're operating in, or there is, the department you are in, this space where your team needs to be effective. Because if you come up with some great ideas that are just legally impossible in a country you operate in, we're not going to be effective here. Okay, so now when you know that there is my responsibility, your responsibility, the bigger organizational or departmental or whatever is ecosystem they are operating in, responsibility, and this might guarantee us success. How do you feel about this engagement? So I want to be really honest upfront. I invested myself as a professional. However, without your input and without your impact on the space you are in, things might not happen for you. How do you feel about that? Or what can we do about that? And actually, even this conversation is a really interesting starter, because then I stopped being a magician. Or I would like to call it seducer, somebody who comes and says like, yeah, I have some beautiful thing to offer you, you will be happy with this. And I become the partner, because that's what we want to do. We want to co-create the process together with a client. And for me, the only fixed part of this process, apart from this conversation, is the discovery phase. I just discovery phase is important for me, because this is the place where we actually co-create something together. And by the way, the discovery phase, I can either do the interviews, observe the team, have some kind of assessments. If the team already have a lot of assessments, I don't offer them new ones. I just ask them if I can have access. Because I've noticed that our industry is such a overload with different assessments and tools and so on, that like if you have something, if you already use, I don't know, this Kogan, you did some team 360 or individual 360 for team members, just give me the access, I can use this data. If not, I can offer you something. Yeah, I have my own assessments at the disposal. I talk to people as well, not so much to learn a lot from them, but to start building relationship, and as well human to human. This is a human-centric engagement, and as well to maybe feel they approach to this engagement. Then we really need to have a multiple lens used, and that's very important, because as I told you, last year I discovered something I haven't done before, because I didn't look at project teams from the traditional perspective. But last year, a lot of engagements I did were with project teams, which is very interesting space, because the project teams I was working with, they didn't have really formal direct leadership, because program or project manager, it wasn't really the leader in terms of line manager. So the process, and of course there was fail and miss sometimes, the process of identifying stakeholders, it is very important in engagements like that. Yeah, because for example, some of the teams, they had team members in project who were just dedicated to this team for like 20% of time or 50% of time, and there were, you know, multiple loyalties. They were engaged in many different events. But I think that this kind of project teams, for me, it's like a stepping stepping towards the future that might be present. Yeah, individuals working with AI agents. So there will be as well a very different correlation in collaboration there. And this is fascinating area for me, how to identify these lenses or people, stakeholders we need to invite to the table. Yeah, so really map stakeholders deliberately in the processes like that. And I offer at the end of this discovery phase report. And I offer this report because I say, like, you might decide after that you don't want to work with me, or what I'm proposing to you is not something which you are interested in, can afford, or can time-wise, but as well money-wise. But this report is data for you with some recommendations. So already this is some kind of value at the end of this discovery phase. Okay. And as well, when I think about this part, okay, I really want to be sure that I co-created with the organization. And now saying that, I want to be really, sorry, not yet. When I say that, I want to be really sure what I mean by co-creating. So as I said, and I had this conversation with my colleague from Europe yesterday, she asked me like, okay, organizations where I work, they really like want this traditional 8 to 12-month processes. Yeah, we meet monthly and so on. And I was like, great, that's wonderful. However, last year I offered so many different combinations which used my skill set as a team coach that weren't like that. So the most common offering I had last year, it was a combination of individual coaching and very short team coaching sessions, usually no longer than 2-3 months. Okay, usually the people who got team coaching there were, as individual coaching there was like a leader, like important expert. In this team project coaching I told you about, every individual got individual coaching as well. And we had only maybe 2 or 3 sessions as a whole, as a team. I did a lot of shadow coaching, so I observed team meetings, because that's as well a form of a coaching you can offer with some kind of feedback after. But as you see, that it's a combination. So you actually combine different elements, individual, more team related. Sometimes in one of the teams, actually we had maybe 2 team coaching sessions, and the whole process was dedicated to engineering manager and tech lead who were in conflict. So I did something about relationship coaching, or I would say relationship coaching / mediation. Yeah. However, through all this engagement, I use my team coaching skills. So you see, be flexible, adapt as well. And as you can see, when we talk about this kind of adaptation, we need to talk about money. And I used this phrase before. I really want to partner around money with my clients. So as well, if I co-design the process with them that uses many different ways of doing things together, which eventually make this team more effective, and it doesn't matter if there's a training or team coaching or mentoring or whatever is out there, I need to be able to talk about money. And I say that money conversation is the consequence of discovery, not a technique. So basically, there are, like, I read a lot of books about selling and prospecting and so on. I don't find them useful. For me, if I do the discovery phase really well, then the money consequence is easy. I don't talk about hourly rates. I actually talk about proportionality. So I think this is the nature of the problem we discovered together. That's how I'm going to interact with your team or with your organization. So let's think, what is the proportional, honest, fair pay depending on the problem you are having. Okay. And as well, I really adapted to geography and the size of the company. Okay, so I'm asking myself, what is proportionate to risk, to the risk, complexity, and attention this situation actually requires? And there is no one good answer for that. However, it changes the conversation. I don't give you the cost list, yeah? That's how much the hour costs here, and this is shadow coaching is that, individual coaching is that. No, we discovered certain tension, problem, challenge, and we are partnering around money to talk about it. However, and now let me stop and maybe sharing my presentation, because there is a lot of mythology about money as well in our industries. I know some team coaches, famous ones, telling that, oh yeah, this is so easy to make, like, $100,000 there, here and there. I'll be very humble here. I don't make $100,000 per team engagement. I have never sold anything for that amount of money. I would say roughly what I make in this kind of quarterly up to 4-month engagement using different modalities, it's around $15,000 to $20,000, discovery phase included. If you are able to sell better, that's great for you. Yeah, I'm looking at I want to have an honest conversation about what is proportionate. However, there's one thing which I'm very open with my clients. I'm supporting you with my skills. So as well, in this process, I'm going to meet with my supervisor. So the person who helps me as a, effective professional, as an individual coach, team coach, trainer, and so on, not to make mistakes. And I'm paying for that as well. And I very often disclose, this is the amount of money I pay for my own development here. Yeah. So we try to co-create the honest kind of pay for that. I usually make the kind of division. So first I charge for discovery phase, and then we add something to it in the final invoice for if they decided to work with me together. Because to be honest, it's 50-50. Sometimes the organization says, yeah, I love this. However, we cannot invest in that right now, for example, from the time perspective, not only money perspective. Yeah, so I don't know about you, but I'm really, really honest in talking to my clients about, if I help you to solve this, how much are you going to actually make money and save money on that? Yeah. And because people as well, our clients, they don't really know how to be charged for the kind of engagements we're doing with them. Okay. And I know that a lot of people who promote AI in coaching, they talk about money perspective, but is AI really able like solve the same challenges as us? Thinking about this human aspect of it, this aspect of emotions, not yet. It's a supportive tool, and I use it as well, especially if the organization tells me that they use AI, and we talk about AI and how we use it. By the way, this is a very important part of the contract, the conversation. However, I am, as a professional, helping them solve certain problem. Let's talk about it, how to manage, how to partner around money there. Donnell?
I think this is a fantastic conversation, and I appreciate your transparency. And I kind of look at coaching in the team environment or even the individual environment. We're adding extreme value. So they're always going to get whatever they invest and then some back. I know that's not always easy to address in conversations. I do think one of the things I'll share with the group that is really interesting is I went to Columbia's coaching conference in October this past year, and I attended a session where they did research on AI and coaching. And the thing that they discovered was that AI and coaching becomes boring very quickly because it becomes predictable in its pattern. And people very quickly disengage. They struggle to stay with it for a month. And what they found in their research was the unpredictability of a human coach was what people were seeking for in their coaching. They needed that illogical experience, that not knowing what's coming next, which is very much what you see in teams, right? It doesn't have the predictability. So I'll just offer that as something that's what we're coaching around, is that space of we can't know how somebody is going to respond to us.
Yeah. Oh, Donald, I love what you just shared because it aligns so well with Jonathan Passmore's work. By the way, if you want to look for interesting reports about how to utilize AI in coaching, that it is okay on a certain level, like they say ACC level just yet. I think it's very unfair towards some of the great ACC coaches I have privilege to work with, but it shows this kind of script like you can expect certain questions in certain order. So there is this element of a pattern because, yeah, that's the language model that works around patterns. Yeah, so there's a repetitive. We are not like we discover patterns, but we often break them. And as well, whatever professional is there, we bring our own biases and our own fears into the process. And that's why we have supervisors here to help us deal with it and bring a little bit of change and unpredictability to it. Yeah, that's a great perspective. We can as well use it when we teach whatever we want to do as human coaches to the organizations. David?
Yeah, I was just going to spring off what Donnell said. I just thought that's amazing. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. I do see that, there's somehow a when we learn, we have cognitive dissonance and it's painful. Okay. And so it's kind of a pain to learn. And so it's really easy actually to have less cognitive dissonance when you interact with an AI, because they're going to be nice to you and kind of do all the right things. But in a way, it's like being able to step into that space of owning, creating a little discomfort is in a way kind of stepping beyond what AI is a quick hit. It's a quick release. Having an authoritarian boss is an easy way to not have to have cognitive dissonance because you just stand there and get told what to do. But I think team coaching, we do something different, right? We're trying to help people exercise and develop that muscle of coping with cognitive dissonance and ambiguity and uncertainty. And so that they come out of it with growth instead of an answer, if you know what I mean.
So David, I will add something to what you just shared. Yeah, that first of all, AI is nice, and that's good. And Jonathan, being married to the person involved in AI, and as well working with teams that develop AI, this is, I know, a huge privilege. At the same time, I can tell you it's very difficult to design language models to be unpredictable at this level because they actually are built on the patterns. Yeah, I'm not an engineer myself, but I know that this is tough because that's why hallucinations are born, because it looks for the pattern. Yeah, that's why it can tell you the things you don't believe in. However, David, what you said, I made this presentation just to show how important for us is working on us as professionals, because I cannot really predict what model of I'm going to do with client, like how I'm going to work with them at the end. However, what I can really leap into or like use as my foundation are skills. And that's why we need to really invest in learning skills, because the biggest advantage of a human team coach over AI coach is our intervention. Intervention is ability to listen well. So in ICF language, sorry, I'm ICF coach. Yeah, it's competency 6. Is observing body language, emotions, beliefs, assumptions, feelings, and so on, and be able to share observation without attachment with a client. So intervention skills, because we want to get to evoking awareness, new awareness, novel awareness. And we do it because these are the skills, and we need to invest time into learning the skills. This is the biggest message I've got for you through reading. And you know already that Michael is a great resource to ask him about great books about that, but as well through active practice, through work with our supervisors. You've got Larissa here, you've got Susie here, wonderful team coach supervisors as well. We need to invest in it because this complexity which is out there, we need to meet this complexity with our skill set. And that's the main message. Yeah, we can only be afraid of AI if we actually stop investing in ourselves. That's what I would say. And yeah, oh my God, I'm a little bit too long, Damian. I'm sorry.
It's okay, Inga. We need to wrap up because we're at the top of the hour. And I think that it was a great conversation. We can continue the conversation. The goal of this space is to meet with the graduates from our team coaching program and everybody who is a team coach and willing to come and discuss these issues. So I want to thank sort of the graduates who are here today. And also, if you are not a team coach yet and you are interested in becoming a team coach, we have a certification starting next month. And Inga, Susie, and Larissa, they are all part of the team working on this program. And I am putting the brochure in the chat box. So you or somebody that you know may be interested in becoming a team coach. So you may refer them. And we are going to continue meeting once a month. We are going to continue this conversation. Inga, I really, as Donnell said before, I appreciate your openness to share how you work. I think that this is what is rich, is how when people can come and share, okay, this is what I do, how I work. So we are going to continue doing that in this space. So thank you. It was, I think, great presentation. Thanks all of our guests for being here today. We hope that you can join us next month. We always meet Tuesdays at the same time. Yeah. And Inga, do you want to put in the chat box your information so if anybody wants to reach you? And also, you were talking about the importance if you're working with teams of receiving supervision. And here we have several supervisors, Inga, Donnell, Susie, Larissa, Michael, Jonathan. It's great that we have here several supervisors too, because I do believe as team coaching is very important that we continue working in ourselves and have a space for reflection.
So there is as well my LinkedIn handle, however you call it, link, somehow. Yeah, this is something we need really a session about that, the importance of having team coaching supervision, not only for like the purpose of accreditation, how important is it for us to really do this work, because as you can see, it's a lot of work there. But thank you, Damian, for inviting me, and I hope to see you all next month.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next month. Okay, take care.
Thank you, Inga. Wonderful. Thank you.
It's a great conversation.
Bye.